Okay, Homie-Fellas, einen wunderschönen guten Abend. Wir versuchen gerade hier zu connecten und wie immer macht Instagram natürlich richtig Faxen. Mal schauen, ob wir das hinbekommen, Jeff einzuladen endlich. Hey, here we go.
Oh, I don't know what you just did, but it worked.
I did my best.
Okay.
Jeff, my friend, how are you doing?
I am doing fine.
Yeah. It's cool in Alaska, I saw.
It's very unpleasant. Yeah.
Unpleasant. Yeah. It's 30 degrees here. It's also more or less. But okay. That's what it is. What a difference. What a difference.
Yeah. Can't do anything about it.
So today I promised my followers to talk to you, and we're gonna talk about the main topic will be the Rhizophagie cycle. How about that?
Yes.
Good.
I think you Sounds good.
Quite good in this topic, and we will definitely disappoint some vegans. I'm sorry, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because plants are not vegan. They actually, let's say, kind of carnivore.
Well, yeah, they're pretty incredible, and anybody who should first write this down. There's a gentleman in Rutgers, New Jersey, named Dr. James White, and he's the guy that's really interpreted a discovery that was made in Australia where they called it Rhizophagy, but the right way to say it is Rhizophagy. And what they saw there, what they thought they saw, were root tips opening up and engulfing microbes. And he did using different kinds of microscopy and staining, and he really discovered what was going on. So what's going on is very, very interesting. The plant puts these exudates out. Everybody who listens to this and knows anything about living soil, we don't need to go through the exudates to track the bacteria, blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
Okay. But in this instance, they put a popcorn smell pheromone, and it attracts bacteria that are in the rhizosphere who think that they're getting a new place to live where they don't have competition.
Okay.
And so they and when they get there, they discover, wait a minute, there's nothing here. There's the cell wall, and they break through the cell wall. Now they don't go into the full cell; they just break through the cell wall, and they end up in a space that's around the goodies in the cell that are held by a membrane, and that space is called the paraplasmic space. Yep. Now, automatically everybody's lost. The way to envision this is your common tofu container.
Okay.
Yeah, all around the world, tofu comes in a white, hard plastic, and you can pretend that that's the cell wall. And then when you break through that, you end up in the liquid that surrounds the actual tofu. Okay. That liquid area is the paraplasmic space.
Right.
And so the bacteria break into that paraplasmic space. Now, they've been attracted by the plant cell to enter, and they enter. But as soon as they enter, the plant goes, oh, wait a minute, these are bacteria. I got to be careful. And so they spray the bacteria. Now, again, they're in that paraplasmic space. Around that white tofu is a membrane. And in that membrane are these little sprayers. And these little sprayers spray out into the paraplasmic space. And what they spray out is something called ROS, reactive oxygen series. And the ROS strips off the cell wall of these bacteria.
All right.
They're still alive. They're still multiplying. They just don't have a cell wall. Now, the goodies that are in that cell wall, there are nutrients in there,
They pour off.
they're absorbed by the plant. The plant uses it to grow, which is great. Okay, so now you got bacteria in that paraplasmic space, and they're circling around because inside the tofu, the cell, there's a cyclosis going on, and it transfers a little bit to the outside to that paraplasmic space. So things are going around, they're multiplying, even though they don't have cell walls, and they're also doing a couple of other things. Most particular is they're producing ethylene, and the ethylene causes plant cells to stretch. Okay, so now they're multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and they're producing ethylene, and the cell can only stretch so much, and they get so plentiful, they back up against the cell wall, and the ethylene that's being produced causes that cell wall to turn into a tube, an extension.
All right.
Fills up with bacteria that move to the tip, and they get blown out of the tip.
All right.
And then the tip closes up again, grows some more, and the bacteria get blown out of the tip, and the tip grows some more. It turns out that little thing that's got the tube, that's a root hair. It's being caused by the ethylene being produced by bacteria. If you don't have bacteria, you still can have a plant growing, but you don't get root hair development. Well, you get some maybe, but they're growing in different directions, and they're, yeah, and 40%, up to 40% of the nitrogen, it turns out, which a plant uses because it needs it, comes from these stripped off Rhizophagy walls. It's pretty incredible. And so what happens is they get blown back out through the roots, the root hairs. See, we always thought root hairs were designed to absorb nutrients. Well, they do absorb nutrients, but the reason they absorb nutrients is they're so thin that you get, mass flow, and you get osmosis and all those things that nobody ever understands. Anyway, it's just incredible. And then once they're out in the soil, this is even more incredible. They grow back. They use the nutrients in the soil to grow back or put back their cell wall. Okay. And then a couple of days later, they go back in again and repeat the trip. So it must feel good.
Actually, yeah.
Because there's this,
somehow
you get a cycle going on. It's called the Rhizophagy cycle, and it is absolutely an amazing thing. It's just one of those incredible things, because not the least of which is we tend to think of plants as these inert, unintelligent, I'm using theological terms, organism that just, they don't run, they don't move. No, plants are incredible. And they've developed this stuff that brings them what they need. Whew. It's a really beautiful thing. And all of this, by the way, if I'm allowed to do a commercial, is covered in my fourth book, which is called Teaming with Bacteria. Yeah. And really, it's a tribute to Dr. White. I mean, it's yeah, there it is. Yeah.
This is the last one, correct? Recommended. Definitely.
Yeah, that's all of them, of course. And they've been translated. They're translated into Spanish. They're in Turkish. They're in
different languages. Yeah.
Romanian.
Everything.
Yeah. Anyway, so
but let me ask one thing. Isn't it that some of the bacteria don't survive? Mm-hmm. Some come back because they can rebuild the cell wall, but some of them they die. Is that correct?
Right. Some do, and then of course they get cannibalized, and the metabolites that are in them get released into the soil. And it's an unbelievable thing. I was saying to somebody the other day, we used to say when I was a kid growing up, I'm 76. Yeah. You know, we used to say, oh, you know, we know so much more about space than we do what's underneath our feet, and we hadn't even started space exploration, you know, because they had telescopes and stuff. I think that's not true anymore. I think now we've really started to understand and study. The soil is so important. We're losing so much of it as a result of tilling and poor
Exactly.
agricultural practices. You know, there are UN reports that seem to indicate we only have 60 more growing seasons left.
That's what's coming.
That's not,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's not good. It's not good. And you want to make sure your soil is good. That's what we're all about.
Exactly, because this whole rhizophagy cycle depends on fertile and a good soil, good conditions, etc. Otherwise, it's
Right.
not going to happen. So I think all the people who are still believing that yes, you can put some salt nutrients in the soil, it's not going to disturb anything, it's not going to kill microbes. It is proven, in my opinion. That's what I read, what I learned, is that when you put some salts or whatever product into the soil that contains salt, it will definitely kill the bacteria, and this whole rhizophagy cycle is not going to happen because their hair roots will not grow. They will just not
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. I mean, and that's only one of the. That's only. I'm looking around for a picture to show you, and I can't find it,
Okay.
unfortunately. It's not. You know, the other things that happen are equally as important. If you don't have bacteria, hey Jude, you don't get soil structure, you know, because the slime that the bacteria produces, you know, which is why you have to brush your teeth
Yeah.
every morning. That's bacterial slime. That slime sticks individual microparticles of soil together, you know, and you get soil structure as this stuff builds up, and the fungi weave through it, and they're not bricks. So you get air spaces and pore spaces, and you know, things can hide in there, and water and bad air gets blown out by the water. Yeah, you get
That's what
soil
it's really.
structure, and yeah, and if you don't get soil structure, you know, then you don't get the soil life that you
Right.
really need. You get some, perhaps. The other thing is that when you put something down like Miracle Grow, let's call it what it is. When you put Miracle Grow down, it certainly works. And it works perhaps for two reasons. One is it's so rich and concentrated, just a little bit has to touch the roots, and you know it gets all the nitrogen it needs. But there are bacteria that'll break down that nitrogen, that Miracle Grow. The problem is you end up with either a monoculture or an unbalanced system of bacteria that are
Yeah.
eating that and subsisting off of that, and so you end up with
But
you know a
dysbiosis
funny
and
yeah, and then the plant then starts to learn. Wait a minute, you know, I'm getting free food. Why am I going through the Rhizophagy? Why am I doing all this stuff, making exudates? I'm getting free food. I don't need to make the exudates. And then you don't get mycorrhizal associations because it doesn't need to signal to a fungi. I'm starving here.
yeah.
I'll give you carbon. Go out and get me phosphorus. It's a beautiful system when it works.
It's
and when
feeding.
yeah, yeah, and then of course you end up with this. How about this for a segue? If you end up with good soil with lots of good nutrients in it, then you end up with a good Brix number. And if you got a good Brix number, you have a healthy plant. If you have a bad Brix number, which is just a measurement of using a refractometer, it's a measurement of the sugars that are in it. And so, yeah, there's one. Oh, you got a very nice one. Very
No,
nice.
that's just any of them works. So,
But they're fun. And if people don't have one, they should certainly go to your website and get one.
I made one of. Meanwhile, I did some videos on that because I think it's crucial to know about that, because this is how you can test. Actually, it's like the blood analysis, and soil EC meter is for me like the heartbeat of all of this. So you have a pretty good picture.
Yeah.
Use this those
right,
tools. And
right, and then you throw in the microbiometer.
yes,
You got a
that's
real nice picture.
more complete. That's
Right.
exactly what I say.
Yeah.
Those are good tools, pretty easy to use, and they say a lot. Because if you have a plant that is the refill, if
Yeah.
you have a plant that is really force fed by artificial nutrients, it's not gonna build all of those secondary metabolites that it needs, etc., etc. And those are flavonoids, kind of
Right.
whatever,
Right.
all stuff that makes a plant smelling good, tasting good.
Yes.
The quality
Yes.
is about that.
Right.
You have a
Right.
low Brix, Brix, okay? Plants, if you have a low Brix plant, which none of those salt nutrient plants, they will never reach more than 10, maybe, yeah, I think it's around 10
Yeah.
Brix.
Not.
So
It's not very high. I'm looking for this picture, but yeah, it's not very high.
automatically, it means the plant is
Yeah.
not really healthy.
And yeah, and when it has a healthy Brix number, you say over 12, insects don't
No,
like it, and they'll
correct.
stay away from the plant. If it has a low Brix number, the plant is susceptible to an incredible amount of insect damage.
Yeah, because insects they feed on decaying matter in the end, on dying plants, on dying stuff. So that because they can't digest the sugars. So automatically it is a dependence. When there is too much sugar, they're not gonna eat it because they know they can't digest it, and they
Right,
that's that's
right. And you raise the Brix by having good nutrients in your soil. So if you got a low Brix, you can improve it by adding compost,
correct.
organic materials that are decaying, et cetera, et cetera. Compost is probably the
Yeah,
best.
but mostly it's
I,
sugar. Mostly
yeah,
it's sugar can kick them on because sugar is well, what is sugar in the end? Everything is made out of the same stuff. It's oxygen, it's nitrogen,
carbon, yeah,
and
carbon, yeah.
let's say it. My gosh,
And carbon,
and carbon.
carbon,
So,
nitrogen, oxygen.
so sugar is the same. It's built of the same things. So if you put more of this food of this fuel in the end, so the plant can the microbial life can use it to thrive, and so feed the plant even better and more complete, and that's how the Brix goes up. So I
Wait a minute,
mean,
you're not suggesting putting sugar on the soil, are you?
yes, I do.
Oh,
We could put salt.
really? Oh, no kidding.
No,
Huh.
I'm suggesting to put molasses, sugar. I mean, any kind of sugar should do it. To be honest, if it's
Yeah,
white
to
sugar,
dissolve it.
molasses,
Yeah, I think that as simple as possible. If you're going to use molasses, by the way,
the
use
best.
non-sulfur. You
Yep,
don't want to have the sulfur
all
in,
right.
that'll throw
That will
things out of whack. So
destroy everything. So
yeah,
it has the good stuff, sure. But it's
yeah,
about sugar. So if they have food, and the easiest source of food for them, for the microbes, is the best source, so they can convert it and live with that. So
right.
that's the plant in the end, and that's how we raise Brix. Because a lot of my clients were asking, okay, my Brix is low. I'm around 7 or 6. My plant looks good, but still it's a low Brix. I mean, indoor, it's a different story. When you reach indoor, with a good light, you can get to even 20 Brix. Let's
Yeah,
be okay,
yeah,
but
yep,
20 not gonna be, because this is the limit as far as I know. But you can have land with 12 Brix, 15 Brix, even indoor. But in general, I think indoor the problem is that mostly it's the light. Okay, not
yeah,
sufficient light with a
yeah,
complete spectrum of light, because if you have a greenhouse, let's say, okay, even if it's outdoor and you use the sun, you still have the glass between, okay,
oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
seems to
UV and everything.
away
Yeah,
a lot of the necessary stuff from the sun. That's why you're never gonna reach a good Brix level also. Yeah, you may come to 10, maybe something like that, but you're not gonna end up with 15 or 20. That's,
yeah.
from my experience, impossible. So
Well, you got to get the right light, and I know yeah, you got to get the right light, and there's only one I know of. People might want to take a look at a website, and I don't even know if they're making them anymore. It's called Sun on
okay,
Demand.
Okay.
and it's a very interesting ozone. It's a fascinating light. People, it's worth taking a look at. It's quite something, and it literally has the
Extremely
same
bright,
and the
isn't it?
same profile,
As the
as
sun.
the sun.
I think
Really very
I had
interesting.
a lamp once, but
Yeah,
it broke down. Unfortunately, that was there was a project from some German guys, I think, or from. I had
yeah.
this
This is
lamp
the
at home,
inventor, or Swiss. I think he was
or
Swiss.
Swiss even. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I had it at home because of a client who sent me that. He said, "Listen, this is
Oh,
a new invention. It's years ago, like 6 years ago for sure, or even more."
right.
Yeah, and I had it at home, but unfortunately, it broke down like on the second side,
Oh,
and I sent it back.
yeah,
But it was incredible. It was really like the sun, just by
yeah.
looking at it, and the plants they really thrived. So that's absolutely crucial to have
Yeah.
the right. No.
Yeah, I went around with those guys to a couple of growers and distributed those lights
Okay.
with them, and they got some pretty good results in the Emerald Valley of California.
Yeah.
You know, it was fun. But anyway, the back to the Brix for a second.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not something people think about, and they really should, because it's just another tool. It's like pH. It's, you know, I mean, you got the tools for the soil, you got the tool for a plant, and the plant can tell you what the
Correct.
soil is lacking, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a good way to go.
But it's unpopular.
Why?
Why is that?
I
For
think, you
measuring the
know,
brick.
first of all, you got to get something to, you know, sort of a plier gadget to squeeze out a little bit of
Yeah.
the juice. People have
Yeah.
that, you know, and then you got to use the refractometer, and people, you know, it's the same thing with pH. I can't tell you how many people, I read a garden column,
Good.
how many people I know have never even thought about testing their pH.
Yeah.
Never thought about it. So it's just something people need to do, and we don't.
Let's.
It's complicated, but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I think is going to change things a little bit.
Mhm.
In fact, I'm certain of it, and that's the cell phone.
Okay.
We're beginning to be able to do things using your cell phone that we never thought we could do before. So, for example, you can take your cell phone, take a picture of a plant, and then push the little thing identifier at the bottom, and it'll tell you what the plant is.
Correct.
Give you information
Yeah, Google.
about it and everything else. I'm convinced that we'll have a situation where you're going to be able to read a Brix level, you know,
Camera or something.
all sorts. Well, using your cell phone. I mean,
You
there's
never
some
know.
sensor, you know, and of course the cell phone we use today, you know, it's a mere shadow of what we're going to be getting. You know, every year it gets better and better, more stuff
In
to
10 years,
keep.
please. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be able to identify bacteria. You know, use it as a microscope. Blah blah blah. You know, it's going to be really good.
But let's stick to
Really
the
good.
pH thing, because this is a very good point. Um, what's the sense of measuring your soil pH when you not really able to influence it, because you're not gonna adjust your water before you're watering? But that's what many people are stigmatized still by this industry in the end, of pHing the water to bring it to a correct level. But since
Yeah.
bacteria managing this whole stuff in the soil, so you can have in the soil different pH levels, and they're not uniform in the soil.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I always tell people, the only pH that counts is the pH in the rhizosphere. You know what I mean? The
Correct.
pH up at the top of the soil, it does. You're right, though. It's, you know, the liquid that you're using influences the pH.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, plants will grow within a range. You know, if they were very specific, we'd have some serious trouble. But it is good to know. You know, if your pH is too low, you're going to lock up certain things, and you know your phosphorus won't be available. That kind of stuff. It's important to know. But again, it's just one of those things people don't. You know, we've all seen the chart. We've
Yeah.
all seen the
Everybody knows.
chart, you know, and some people know how to read the chart, but how many people take a sample and really have a pH? And then, of course, you use a pH strip, you know, instead of an exact pH meter, and blah, 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 blah.
For the soil,
It can be,
a soil pH meter. Let's make the difference,
yeah,
because it's not about liquid, the pH meter that you measure liquids with. you need a soil pH meter. That makes sense because it is like the EC meter, more or less.
Yeah,
soil. So you put this in, yeah, and while you're going down, okay, if you hit the rhizosphere, you will see that the pH changes completely towards even lower or higher. You will have a different pH, so that makes no sense. Sample out of the soil, in my experience.
Yeah, people say take a bag, you know, and put little samples in.
Get an average. You get an average. If you go to the lab and send your soil in, they will tell you the pH, but it's just the average pH in the whole sample.
But the microbiometer also will tell you the pH now, so it's built into the system. And when you take that little sample and put it on that little card, and take the picture of it, you get a pH number now too. Now that, you know, that's getting pretty accurate. You know, when you get that little teeny, you take, and so you've got to be careful where you take your sample from, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you get a pH reading. I don't know how they do it. You know, they use a reagent and everything else, but they still get a pH.
Okay, but is it in the application that has changed, or is it the whole concept of the microbiometer that has changed to show you the pH?
No, the application has changed. The app has changed. They're continually improving that app.
So I'm still going with the old school one. So because this one is not going to change.
But I think it might. I think if you go to the app store, the one you download now is the updated app. There must be some updates going on. I have to check with them. Yeah, you know, I worked with the inventor.
Yeah.
She was a doctor, and not a doctor. She was a medical inventor.
Okay.
And she had invented some filters, you know, for blood, etc. And she was precluded from, you know, doing work in that area, and got into soil. And very interesting. What a nice lady. Her daughter is now running the company. Nice family.
Founder of the microbiometer company. You're talking about the inventor, actually, of this product.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was just a wonderful lady. And she and her husband died, but oh God, we had some fun. We had some real interesting fun. Because people, what I tell people was, until the microbiometer came along, there was no way I could tell whether something was really teeming with microbes. So when you put something on, you know, the only way you could tell whether it was working, did the plant do better than the control? This is different. You know, this made it. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away. She invented this thing with another friend of mine called James Sotilo, who's since passed on. Terrible story, but James never really got to see the thing.
No.
Kit form and everything else is just what a nice guy he was, though. But yeah, anyway, so. Somehow I got involved in that stuff. We worked on most of the stuff. And there's a really nice guy named Brady Trexler who does a lot of the backroom mechanics and is able to take the
technical part.
Yeah, you know, it's because it's very difficult. If you don't have the right light, there's a difference between an Android phone and a cell phone, you know, and an iPhone, blah, blah. So yeah, it's really something.
It's a lot of things to take care of before you really have something like that. Give it to the people so everybody can use it without any differences and stuff like that. But it works.
Right.
I mean, if you test compost tea or soil, whatever, it really it's completely legit because I some soil tests with a saturated paste test and stuff like that, and you really could compare those stuff, and it absolutely so this is really right.
And it's a test that normally would take you know, the test that this does away with is a lab test that takes several weeks. It costs $5,000 for the test, blah blah blah, and it's too late. Who wants the results 2 weeks later? The other thing about
makes no sense. Yeah.
My prediction when she came out with this, and I stand by it, is that as it gains more and more popularity and people understand it better, it will become a standard that the United States Department of Agriculture, they back the pH system, and they're going to back this system. I mean, it just makes too much sense. It's too useful. And now that she's selling it in 80 countries,
It's
people,
unique.
you
It's absolutely unique. There is nothing like that on the market. So
yeah,
I really love
really
it because those three things, like the soil EC meter, refractometer, and biometer, and maybe if you're outdoor, not indoor, then you should use a penetrometer to have the whole picture. Okay, to know the compaction of the soil and stuff like that, so you can tell does it make sense to apply compost or microbes or whatever, because if the soil is too compacted, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, to put some microbes, because you really I heard this analogy and it was really good. You're throwing ice cubes on a lava, okay?
Yeah.
With giving some microbes to soil that is toxic, that is not alive and stuff like that. It's not gonna change much. So that's why you have to know how is the compaction. What does the penetrometer says?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Really interesting how you can check everything, and it makes sense. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, information is power. The problem is that most people who garden, not necessarily farmers, although they've got some problems in the same regard, you garden, you garden the way your father gardened or your grandmother gardened or your mother gardened. That's who you learn from, and so that's what you do. This is how my father grew tomatoes. This is how I grow tomatoes. It's the same way. Anyway, we got to learn. There's a lot of information out there, and
we're learning
we've got
constantly.
right. And of course we've gone from after World War II, being very excited about the chemical industries, ability to help us grow food, and now we've swung back to where we were before these munitions became available.
Back to the root.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really something. The reason why I keep looking around, I'm looking for somewhere around here, the guy who invented Miracle Grow.
Okay.
Have I ever told you this story? So the guy who invented Miracle Grow, he was a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
His name was Horace Hagedorn. Okay. And he went to work for a butter company in New York.
A butter?
A butter, B-U-T-T-E-R. Okay. Now, all butter's the same. Now we have two different grades. We've got
should have 80% of fat and be organic.
Yes. But butter is butter. It's how you package it and sell it. And so he went to work with, and he realized the second day he was there, Jesus, this is dull. All butter is butter. It's just butter. What do they need an advertising guy for? And he kept thinking about his friends who went to work at Gillette, which is coming up with a new blue blade every day and new razors, and so he would spend his weekends driving around lamenting about the fact that he really didn't like his job very much, and he one day he was in New Jersey and he came upon a greenhouse owned by a fellow named Otto Stern. And he walked in the greenhouse and it was like, whoa, what's going on in here? Everything's beautiful. And Otto said, I have a secret formula. Incidentally, this is at Rutgers University area. So I wonder if James White could go find the place. But Hagedorn says, hey, why don't we go into business? We'll advertise a Miracle Grow, that's what we'll call it, a plant and one without Miracle Grow, and we'll show the difference, and we'll see what happens. So he put an ad in the Sunday paper, and by the following Thursday, he got something like $20,000 in cash. That's more money than he was making at the butter company. And so he decided to go in the business, and he walked into the butter company. He said to the owner of the butter company and the owner's son, it was a family business, I hate this and I quit. Okay, so he quit. He says, no offense to you guys, but I just quit. this became his standard story. Wherever he went, he would tell this story about how he quit the butter company. One day he's at a conference that I'm at, and I'm sitting there, and he's telling the story. And in the middle of the story, he looks up and he says, are you Lowenfels? Pointing to me. It turns out my father and grandfather owned the butter company.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. But the reason why I'm telling this story is because while he was there trying to exercise some sort of use of his college education in advertising, he said, you people, you need a margarine. Now, the butter company was called Hotel Bar Butter, HB. And Horace came up with the idea that they needed a margarine. It had to start with HB. And so he came up with the name Happy Boy Margarine. Okay. So then he said, my dad has professional pictures taken of his 3 sons, each one of us, eating a piece of toast or some stupid thing.
You were one of them.
Well, I won. And I became Happy Boy Margarine. And if you go to the internet right now and Google Happy Boy Margarine, you will see my picture. Anyway, so that's my connection to Miracle-Gro. We became very, very good friends after he recognized me, and he actually came up here to Anchorage and filmed a bunch of ads in our backyard for Miracle-Gro. He died before the organic movement really took over, and I'm convinced he would have switched. Even today, Scott's Miracle-Gro, the company that makes it, is the largest purveyor of organics in the world. It's just, we just think of Miracle-Gro, and that's not organic. There it is.
Is this you?
Yeah. It isn't. That's.
How old were you then?
I must have been about 5 or 6.
Wow.
Pretty damn embarrassing growing up, I got to tell you.
Oh, well. Yeah, nobody knew at that time. Now we know, but it's all behind us.
My friends knew.
They knew it. Nice story to tell. Cool. Cool.
So that's my connection to Miracle-Gro. And again, as I say, the stuff works. It just throws the microbes out of balance, and it really impacts the building of soil structure, which is really important.
Due to the low Brix.
Yep.
There is a price to pay always for something.
Yep.
And this is really the case.
Yep.
So
it's sort of like having an alcoholic plant. An alcoholic's got to have that. Got to have the booze. These Miracle-Gro plants, they got to have that. They got to have the chemical.
Yeah. Well, that's a story. I'm really surprised. You told me something about it, but I didn't. Maybe I forgot.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding synthetic nutrients and stuff like that, we went from explosives to plant food. Let's call it like that. Okay, and we put salt in it so that it makes it a little bit more or less harmful, less dangerous. Let's call it, because they have the bad reputation to explode.
Right.
Those things, and that's, you end up with salts. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's what. Yeah. It's just, it changes the pH. There's nothing natural about this stuff. It's a good way to get rid of it. And it works, it works. It supplies nitrogen. But again, when you hear that we've only got 60 growing seasons left, holy crow, is that my kids or is that my grandkids? Doesn't matter. But we got to stop doing this stuff. And that's tilling as well. That's rototilling too.
Yeah.
Just turning the soil over.
This is really crazy because meanwhile, we have this whole big movement in the last years of organic farming, of changing this whole procedures of farming in the end. But sure, the biggest part is still conventional. Yeah, it's not organic. It's not regenerative, and nothing. Not at all. Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't
no, that's
even,
right.
a farmer don't even knows about the plant life cycles, whatever. He just knows what fertilizer to apply, when, and what to do when there are pests or whatever. But
Yeah.
they don't get into like a deep dive like that. They wouldn't know what we're talking about.
Well, the supplier gives them what they
Correct.
need. The seeds, are glyphosate resistant.
Yeah.
Glyphosate. I'm going to go on. The
Oh,
things we put.
I have a story regarding glyphosate. Listen, did you
Oh,
know that's quite new? I think. People like or companies like Bayer and Syngenta, etc., they really did it. They genetically modified some soil microorganisms. It's bacteria, it's algae, it's protozoa, or whatever. All of them. Uh, so they fit to their sterilized seeds and to this glyphosate thing and stuff like that. When you release this stuff into the soil, genetically modified soil microorganisms,
yeah.
I think box of Pandora, isn't it? This is
And
horrible.
yeah, it's terrible stuff.
And this is
Yeah.
new. This is pretty new. That at least I got this information lately, and this really shocked me because there is no barrier. Okay, we all know when you put this in the soil and it's genetically modified, you don't know what it will do with the rest of the soil if there is something left, but it will maybe proliferate, and there will be more of these genetically modified organisms in the soil that you can use and will kill eventually the natural soil food web. Okay, yeah, it's what they do with this whole patented seeds, and that they pollinate others and stuff like that. So there is an influence, and
Yeah.
and it will be the
Oh,
same.
it's
We
but
lose biodiversity, and we lose our freedom because we don't even have the microbes anymore. Maybe one day.
well, guess what? It's worse. It's worse in the United States because they let them spray the stuff on wheat before it's harvested.
Correct.
You can't do. I don't think you can do it in Europe.
No, you
Spray
try
it on the
it.
wheat before it's harvested
Correct.
to dry it out. That's just
Horrible.
absurd. Yeah. So what they were saying, relating to what you were just talking about, what the argument was is that you can eat glyphosate. It doesn't impact humans.
Nonsense.
It does. It can't. It's the systems that we have. But that may be true. I keep getting messages. That may be true, but what it does impact are the bacteria that humans rely on.
Because it's
And
an
so,
antibiotic.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Well, and because it used to be a rat poison, I think. I think
also,
that's when they did the.
but for your gut,
Uh,
it's an antibiotic, and it will kill off also your own gut bacteria. So it's
yeah,
there,
right.
and then it continues in your gut, and this is why people have so many strange symptoms, illness, whatever.
Yeah, Crohn. They think Crohn's disease. They think may be coming from, this terrible reaction, and everything we have because they have charts that show an incredible increase in these autoimmune diseases of the
Since
gut.
yeah,
That since the introduction of
correct.
glyphosate, it's really too bad. Uh, when you again Google that, you can look up what are the potential dangers of glyphosate. You get a paragraph of different
A lot.
diseases, leukemia, blah, blah, blah. Oh
Sure,
my gosh, it's
because,
just
because your health starts in your gut, and if you kill that off, there is no health anymore. There's just disease. So
yeah.
yeah,
And then they make it available to lay people. No, if you're going to have it, if you have to have it, I think Alaska is the only state in the United States whose waters do not have glyphosate in it. We're such a small population, such a big area.
okay.
You go to any other state in the United States and sample any stream, glyphosate. And I think I read that virtually every pregnant mother in the lower 48 states has glyphosate in their bloodstream. Not one of them asked for it. Not one of them said, geez, I'm going to go to the store and get some glyphosate to eat. It's criminal, and we
Like
let them do it.
that. It's exactly like that. Where's your coming from in Alaska, actually, in your town? And so where do you get it from?
Where do we get what the
The water,
glyphosate?
just the tap
Oh,
water.
our tap water comes from a well. We have aquifers all over. Yeah, we don't have a water problem in Alaska, that's for sure. Some melting glacier. Actually, the city water does come from a melting glacier.
That's what I want to say.
And we have.
It's a source. It's a reserve of clean water, maybe still.
Very good. It's
When
very good.
you don't have glyphosate in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big. We tested here the Spanish water, it's really latrine water. Yeah, there is not only chlorine and a lot of stuff, but there are also disinfectants inside.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't just vapor them off. Those disinfectants, they stay, so you have to filter them. So it's not drinkable at all. So this is not the right way here. But that's what Spain does, and everybody looks. Spain is not a small country, and it's almost in a whole country the same problem. Maybe in the north where you have a different climate, different sources of water, but mostly 80% of Spain has just the worst water in Europe, actually. Yeah,
wow.
really bad. And sure, it's because of the heat and contamination of different pathogens and stuff like that you automatically have. So automatically you need all those disinfectants, chlorine, chloride, whatever. So yes, but we also have almost no trees here in this zone because they all cut it down hundreds of years ago, and they never repopulate that. So really a sad story because this country was full of forests and stuff like that.
Sure.
We have bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That is too bad.
When you come to Valencia, you will see what I'm talking about. You'll just see, like in California, plantations of oranges and stuff like that. Nothing else, and no trees. Okay.
Yeah. I bet they're not organic either.
No, not at all. Most of them not. So where the water, when they water all this stuff, where this water goes down into the groundwater or evaporates, whatever. So it takes all the garbage with it, and if it's glyphosate or other pesticides, fungicides, whatever, this whole stuff ends up in the groundwater. So even a well makes no sense at all because you will just connect to the most dirty source of water anyway. So there is, that's why they have this, I don't know if it's called like that, desalination.
Yeah.
So that's why they already tried this, but this water is actually a little bit better. But let's be honest, even in the sea, here in the Mediterranean Sea, you have glyphosate. You have other.
And you're going to buy a house there?
I have to stay some time to what can I say? What's the meaning of life? In my case, it's somehow to create some impact on people, which I do definitely, and you definitely did already with your books and making aware of what's going on. That's also my thing, just to educate people what's going really on, how to live without destroying all this stuff, that money is not everything, and that there are other people to come on this planet still. And this is quite egoist to just look at your place. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Wait till you have kids.
The responsibility then is a completely different, and the awareness that I already have is I think high enough. And that's why I do it, So it's sure we have to survive, so we need money, but it's not all about money. It's also about going to bed without any bad thoughts. I can sleep well, because I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm not promoting artificial stuff. Look, a lot of my people who buy living soil, who start with living soil the first time in their life, months later, and this is very often, months later, they tell me, hey man, on one side I have this living soil thing, and I never thought about my food that I eat and this and that. But with the time, it makes you aware. They smoke this stuff biologically clean and without any contaminants, but they still go to McDonald's or whatever, buy not organic, conventional stuff. A lot of them wake up. I have a lot of clients like that. They wake up and they say, hey dude, you made me aware of what's going on. I stopped eating bullshit. I feel different. So my whole thing is completely ecologically and organic and stuff like that. And this is a big change. When I change people's life to the good, to the positive,
Yeah.
that's what makes me happy. You know what I mean?
Time
So
to
money
write a
don't
book.
that's the best
Yeah.
you can have in your life. So I'm not just
It is.
doing something for money, and it doesn't matter how I do it, because there are a lot of people, and even more in Germany right now because of this pseudo legalization, let's call it like that. A lot of people smell money automatically because the business starts, and you can sell this and that and do this and that, and you can the biggest businesses, I think, clones. So right now they sell a lot of clones, and they are, most of them, they have ordered Hauptviroid, or they are just not really healthy, or they bring some a lot of pest and stuff like that with them, because they're just selling, producing, selling. They don't take care. Those are not healthy plants. Those are just plants to sell, make money. And this is the bad part of this business and this specialization. No?
Right. And
Before,
when you go into a dispensary in the United States to buy cannabis, which is legal in 28 states or something, and you go in and you know it's a good dispensary when they list which varieties you're buying are organic or living soil.
yeah,
If they don't know, then you don't buy. And it's become now that people ask for it. I sell a lot of my books, oddly enough, in dispensaries. What are they doing there?
So they,
because people go their own,
awareness. It's information, and they care about it. And also, when you buy a clone that comes from living soil, you get all the endophytes that came with the seed, and this is the most important for the health of the plant, and in the end for the quality and for the resistance, because of pest. Brix goes up, everything goes up. So you can
clones. I know everybody uses them. I like the seeds, no question about it. I'm not sure some of these clone plants are what they used to be.
Absolutely.
You're on the 20th generation. I mean, good gracious me, oh my! But I like seeds. I like to grow stuff, and I like autoflowers.
I know.
Love autoflowers.
I'm a fan of autoflowers, but it also because you live in Alaska, so
true.
that's
true.
Cycle.
But I'm also impatient, so I like.
Okay.
So you get something in 100 days as opposed to
right. It goes faster.
It
before the cold comes, you say. Has to.
That's right. That's right. So I have an outdoor green. I have an indoor greenhouse. I have an outdoor greenhouse, and most people who live in Anchorage have outdoor greenhouses to grow tomatoes in because it gets too cold at night to set the fruit. And people come over here, and I go over to their places, and the first thing you do is you walk into the greenhouse, you look around, how your tomatoes doing, mine are bigger, whatever. Now, my greenhouse, screw it. I got one or two tomatoes. How many tomatoes can you eat? I got one or two tomatoes, and I got a lot of autoflower seedlings growing.
It is cool.
So it's fun. I'm going to start breeding. I'll do my own heirloom cannabis autoflower.
So
that'll be.
Is it here? So you will see also some nice stuff, because I have also a garden full of veggies, and normally in the summertime I plant something outside also, but this year there was not enough time to do it outside, and they grow like trees. They get so big, and that needs maintenance, and you have to take care of this and that, because it's still not legal here. So tolerated, but it's not legal. So you have to keep still low with that. But indoor, it's a different story. But Jeff, we already 1 hour mark, and like I said, doesn't like that. That's a pity. but because I could talk with you for hours like we do.
We'll do it again.
Anyway, we have to continue one day with another topic or something like that, and that's gonna be it. So again, I recommend all the books that Jeff wrote because this is an insight, a deep dive into the understanding of life actually that surrounds us. Yeah, of not only plants, because this is part of our life. If we take into account that most of the microbes that we found in the soil are also habitants of our gut. Yeah, 1-to-1. It's the same. Yeah, so that's why it's so important to know, because information is the key to this. And when I change something on this planet for our kids or whoever, yeah, that's the only way to be informed and to do the right things and grow on living soil, not on artificial nutrients. That's the only way. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. No question about it.
You know?
And it's important we learn this stuff. I mean, I always say to people, we need to start teaching our kids about microbes and
In the
stop
school,
teaching them about, yeah, and stop teaching them about dinosaurs.
yeah, exactly.
One
Useless.
is,
That's what they teach them. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
yeah,
Good analogy.
yep, indeedy. All right.
Was nice to have you here, like always. And maybe the next time, you never know, it's gonna be in September, October, and then we will do a live stream sitting here together. That will be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I hear those doves in the background. I go, must be
Yeah,
nice.
a lot of going on because of the weather. Sure, they are all up and alive now.
Oh,
So yeah,
gosh.
things
Yeah,
like
what's the temperature? I'll tell you what it is here. It's 48 is centigrade. It's
8
probably 8 or 9.
degrees Celsius. 8
That's
degrees
cool.
Celsius. Here it's 28. It went down from 30. Now it's 28. Yeah, and it is quite high, so that's why it's so hard to sit outside
Yeah,
that
look at
long. But
this. So I have a vest on.
yeah,
I got a shirt on, t-shirt underneath there. Oh my God.
oh my God. All right, Jeff, it was really a pleasure. Let go.
My pleasure. It was
Have
all
a nice
mine.
care.
Say hello to your other half.
I will do. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Take care. Bye,
Yep.
Jeff.
Bye.